Hey guys, welcome to this video where it's gonna be a little bit different than the usual. It's gonna be more of a story time and I wanna hear your guys' opinion. I wanna talk about the deadlift. Is it an essential movement? Is it worth it to do a deadlift? Is it something that is needed to build a complete body? Alright, and I wanna share my story. I wanna talk a little bit about my experience and I wanna hear you guys because in this video I really want you guys to interact and let me know what you think. I'm not a guru by any means and I just sharing my opinion, my experience, but I want to know what you guys think about it, all right? So, is deadlift really worth it? That's the name of the video, and that's what we'll be talking about, the benefits of deadlifts, the risk. But first, I want to tell you how I injured my lower back. So basically, a year and a half ago, I was at the gym, I was working out, and I saw 135 pounds on the floor, all right? So a bar with 135 pounds on the floor. That day I believe I was doing shoulders, all right? So I'm like, you know what, there's 135 pounds on the floor, nobody's using it, so might as well, I'll do a good gesture, put back the weight, maybe use it to do a little bit of traps and deload the bar, all right? So I go walk towards the bar, I see it from far, I'm walking there, and in my mind, it's just one plate each side. So I pick it up in a very wrong way because I just wanted to do shrugs. So I don't think about deadlifting or embracing my core or having a proper posture. I just pick it up basically with maybe one leg. You know how you go down to pick a shaker. And I take that 135. My intention was doing traps. And as soon as I pick up that weight, I felt something on my lower back, an electric shock, and I was nearly paralyzed, guys. I couldn't even bend down anymore. I was 4 or 5 minutes ice, all right? I couldn't eat. When I mean ice is like I'm ice, I'm frozen, I can't even move. And I didn't call anybody at the gym, I just bared the pain and I started walking and I'm like, there's no way 135, like look how insane I am. I'm like, there's no way 135 is doing that to me, I'm so strong. And I had my ego all buffed up, so I go again and I'm trying to pick it up, and this time I'm trying to do a good deadlift position because I'm like, there's no way that did that to me. And I pick it up, boom, it comes even harder, and that time I could barely even walk that day, all right? So I had to stop my workout. I rested. I stayed on the glute machine. I sat down next to it because it was right next to the bar. And I stayed there for like 10 minutes Googling what's going on. I'm like kind of in my mind, I'm not believing it because 135 basically destroyed me, but it's because I had bad form. Next thing, you know, I injured my back pretty badly. All right, the SI joint and the sciatic nerve, everything in that area just above my glutes, in the middle, SI joint, the sciatic nerve that goes down your leg, you feel that tingling, you feel an electric shock. Well, I felt all of that and it lasted easily 10-12 months. Actually, you know what, yeah, anyways, let's call it a year. All right, a year where I was barely able to walk in the first couple of weeks, all right? To not exaggerate things, the first couple of weeks, so let's say the first 3-4 weeks, I could barely walk without pain. I could not walk without pain. I'm a personal trainer, so training my clients was super hard. Anyways, long story short, I kept going, I kept training them. I was just suffering and biting my tongue. I'm on my way down to pick up the weights to give it to them, but you have to do whatever you have to do, right? So, in that time, I'm like, well, now I can't deadlift, I can't bend anymore. But I kept working out, I kept training, I kept engaging, strengthening my core and doing all the other body parts, the chest, shoulders, back, legs. Even legs, I was able to train them without having a lot of pain. And then I realized that because I got injured, I kind of used that for the time to cut. I'm like, you know what, now I can't push as hard the weight, so might as well cut and start cleaning down. So I really cleaned up my diet, started training all the other muscle groups as I do usually, and I reached the best body I've ever had, literally. I'm trying to think, but there was no point in my entire life where I had a better physique than I was able to reach in that period being injured. All right, no deadlifts, no hip hinge, no bending. All right, no bending at all. I was able to do squats. I was still able to do, of course, bench press, overhead press, everything. But my lower back was in so much pain that every time I tried to hinge down, bend my spine, do a deadlift or a stiff leg deadlift or any hip hinge movement, it would hurt. So now I'm over that phase, and now today I was training back, and I'm like, you know what? Let me, after the barbell rows, let me try to do a bit of deadlift. I tried doing a bit of deadlift, and I did feel something in my lower back, something very slightly. But I'm asking myself, is deadlift really worth it? I know that I talk about the big compound movements, and I do talk about deadlift, squat, bench press, overhead press, barbell rows. I'm a big fan of those lifts, but though what happened to me and the fact that I had to stop deadlifting, but I was still able to reach my best physique all time, made me ask the question, is deadlift really worth it? And is it really as beneficial as we think it is? All right, and to be honest with you guys, on all the compound lifts the last year I was pushing, but not the deadlift. It's the only one that I was staying away from. All right, and I look at my body, there's nothing that I feel that the deadlift could add up on, and I'll tell you why. All right, because when I stop squatting and I squat again, I do feel the difference in my quads, the mass in my quads, and I feel the strength in every other body part going up when I'm squatting heavy and I'm pushing myself on squats. I feel the benefits even when I'm doing upper body. All right, same thing when I'm benching, when I'm doing overhead presses, barbell rows. I do feel the benefits of them. But doing deadlifts, what is there that I can't get anywhere else, the stimulus for bodybuilding, that I can only get from deadlift? That's the question that I'm asking, because truth be told, the deadlift is a pretty dangerous movement. That's not how I got injured. But after my injury, every time I tried to bend and put my spine and my hips and my lower back in this position, well, I always feel that there's a slight risk every single rep. And you know, when you push yourself, the form kind of degrades the more you go in that set and the intensity. And with the deadlift, it only takes one bad rep to mess up the spine, all right? Mess up the lower back. I had a friend, very good friend of mine, Sammy. Basically, he had a disc injury just because he had an incident pretty similar to mine. But for him, it was a lot worse than me. He had to be hospitalized. Anyways, long story short, I'm like, is the deadlift that needed? And I look at my body and I'm like, where can the deadlift add what is missing? And yes, my glutes. I know the deadlift could add on my glutes, on my hamstring. The lower back, I don't think really, because the deadlift is not a lower back exercise, all right? If you feel your lower back when deadlifting, you're doing it wrong. You shouldn't be bending from your lower back, but from your hips, all right? So it's more of a hips, glutes, lats, traps, upper back, rhomboids. But the upper back benefits, you'll get everything, let's be honest, with dumbbell rows. You can do farmer's walk, for example. You can do shrugs. You can just hold some weight. You can even do rack pulls. All right. For me, it hurts a lot less than going straight from the floor, conventional deadlift. Now, everything from the back can be covered without deadlift. Everything from you bend your, I'm hinging. So yeah, I'm working also my hip flexors. You're working the glutes. You're working your core. Those things can also be worked separate ways. You can do things such as the plank for the core. The glutes, I can do other exercises. I'm working them also when I'm doing my squats, my lunges. But the hamstring, to be honest, I know it's a body part that I'm missing on. And I'm thinking maybe the deadlift. But doing stiff leg deadlift, believe it or not, doesn't hurt. When I'm doing stiff leg deadlift without going all the way down, I would stop 3/4 and come back up. I feel it very well in my hamstring, but doesn't hurt in my lower back. So why not just replace the deadlift, the conventional deadlift, with stiff leg deadlift, doing some glute exercise on their own, bracing core, training your hip flexors on your own. But aside of that, do we really need the deadlift? That is really the purpose of that video. And I believe that if I have to take one compound lift off of all the ones, not only the big threes, but even if we're including overhead press, dips, pull-ups, barbell rows, dumbbell rows, deadlift, squat, bench, overhead press, well, I would take off the deadlift, all right? Because I think it's the least beneficial for bodybuilders. For powerlifters, yes, it does have its benefits. Also, the fact that you're lifting something off the floor, it's still, there's something primal to it, right? It's a cool exercise to do. It's a very cool exercise to do. I loved it. It was my favorite one, all right? But thinking about it, you're training more a movement than you're stimulating a muscle. You're training more an explosive movement. It's gonna translate very well in athletic sports, in performance sports, in combat sports. But as a bodybuilder that's trying to stimulate your muscles. Yes, it's good for the central nervous system, but I can still train my central nervous system doing heavy squats and heavy overhead presses and bench and those kind of stuff, all right? So is it really beneficial? Is it really needed? Well, it is beneficial. Is it worth it? Because you gotta push the heavy weights, right? If you wanna get the most out of it. Well, you gotta go fairly heavy. Let's say, I don't know, 225 at least, 315, 405 on the deadlift, all right? My all-time max was 5 plates each side, no straps, all right? Of course, mixed grip. But anyways, it's not about to talk about my lift, but it's about, is it that beneficial? Some people do it for the back, but for the back, my back is pretty good. And like I told you, I've reached my all-time best physique, no deadlifts, all right? For the glutes, a lot of other exercises you could do for glutes, a lot of other things you can do for the core. So I'm just throwing it out there. Is it worth the risk? Let me guys know what you think. I don't believe it's worth the risk anymore. I believe that we can work around it and it's safer. The more you mature and you've been training for a long time, you start shifting your perspective from lifting the heaviest weight and just killing yourself at the gym to longevity. And that's where I'm at. I'm like, every time I go to the gym, I'm like, thank God, I'm grateful, I'm blessed. I'm able to train all my body parts. I'm not injured. And I want to be having that blessing for the rest of my life. All right? You don't want to end up at 40 years old or 50 or 60 or 70 with discs that prevent you from walking. All right, that's pretty much it. Let me guys know what you think. And like I said, squats, I still would put them bench, overhead press, barbell rows. I can do barbell rows, no pain. It's just the deadlift where I feel like my spine is doesn't like it as much. All right, so let me guys know what you think. And let's talk about the belt. A lot of people will be like, well, put a belt on. A lot of people, 99.9999% of people use the belt wrong. The belt is only a tool that should teach you how to breathe. All right, you have a belt built in you. All right, so brace correctly. So everyone putting belts just to avoid the lower back pain, guys, that's not what it should be for. All right, you should brace the right way, you should breathe the right way, and the belt is just to basically remind you that your core should be pushing on that belt and to give you that pressure that you should be building in from air. All right, so try breathing really through your core, through your belly, through your diaphragm, expanding it, bracing, super important. All right, I know how to deadlift also. It's not that I don't know how to deadlift. I didn't get injured deadlifting, but after my injury, everything I did when I was hinging, I was in pain. So now there's no pain. I'm asking myself, is it beneficial? Is it not? Let me know what you think in the comment. I like throwing those videos on where we're kind of talking. All right, it's a brotherhood. It's a community that I'm trying to build where I've got all the guys. You know, I can't say your name because most of you guys don't even have your name on your account, and some guys have like 2,000 different letter, so I can't remember them all. But I'm throwing this conversation. You guys are like my brothers and a family that I'm trying to build. And thank you all for the support. Thank you guys for sending me positive messages. You guys are awesome. You guys are the best. I'll keep going. If only one person listens to my videos, it's more than enough because you are enough. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Ciao.